Oil and gas is the gold standard of the 21st century.
Stephen Thompson has been in this business over 30 years. Let me introduce to you the founder of Leland Energy, Stephen Thompson.
Today he's going to be talking to you about oil and gas and the state of the industry and how you can make some money from it.
Good evening. This happens to be a big time for the oil and gas business. I don't think that's any big surprise to anybody. We're talking about the last quarter, the oil and gas industry reflected, I think, $20 billion for a quarterly profit. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And, you know, you're on one side of it or you're on the other side of it. Most of us as consumers are on the paying side of it. How do you get a piece of that? How do you get involved in any of that? I'll talk about the industry, the state of the industry, pricing, demand, things of that nature. We've enjoyed a relatively low price structure for our oil and gas. Those days are pretty much behind us. Price of a barrel of oil predicted to go past $100 a barrel. Now this is a quote that was taken from one of the heads of OPEC, and this quote is actually about a year and a half old. Now today I think oil closed down about $53 a barrel. On the high side we've seen it up as high as $70 a barrel. It does not take much of a stretch, I don't think, for any of us to look out and understand that somewhere over the next 3, 5, 7 years, $100 barrel oil is not going to be at all unusual. In the last 10 years, seen free markets develop all over the world in places that they weren't before, 10, maybe even 20 years. We know that China's blooming like crazy. We know that India's blooming like crazy. All of these free markets lend themselves to one thing: consumers, goods, buying, economy, growth. And where there's growth, the demand for oil and gas is always there. There's nothing that touches our life today that is not some way touched by oil and gas. When you go to the supermarket, if you go to the produce section, the chances are you're going to buy a fruit or a vegetable that was brought here from, if not just from the northern part of the state, then from another country entirely. It takes a fuel price to get it here. China and India now becoming economic powerhouses are competing with us for the same reserves. The United States and China alone, I think between the two of us, we import 15 million barrels a day. 15 million barrels of oil a day. That's a lot of oil. That's just two countries. And that's import. The hydrocarbon energy sources, oil, natural gas, and coal, are all finite. That doesn't come as a surprise, I'm sure, to anybody in this room. It's finite. It's not something that we can regenerate or create. Man doesn't create these resources. We extract them, we develop them, and with technology we'll figure out more ways to find more that is here. It is not a doomsday scenario in that sense, but make no mistake about it, it's a premium commodity, and it is finite. For about 30 years, the world has been finding less oil than it has been consuming. Most countries overstate the reserves. That's just kind of a standard method of operations, especially over in the Middle East. They'll say that they've got reserves for this period of time and this amount. The fact of the matter is everybody's putting a rosy picture on it. Everybody puts a very rosy picture on what they've got still in the ground and that they can get out. The challenge is each year the world consumes more than 3 times the amount of oil and gas than is discovered. So that's not too hard to figure. You're using a lot more of something, you're not replacing it, and you're not finding any more of it. What has to happen? Pricing. It's all about pricing. A total of 51 producing countries have hit peak oil production and 6 more are on the brink. This means they will produce a declining amount of oil year after year. Price of oil continues to rise, yet is still a bargain compared to Coke, milk, or wine. I don't have the exact formula for it, but if you took a barrel of Coca-Cola, it would cost a lot more than a barrel of oil. Select group of smart investors will get rich in the process. I think we know that that's always the case, whether it's in the technology sector, whether it's in the finance sector, whether it's in the oil and gas industry, whatever it might be. If you're aware, if you have information, if you have an interest, and you're active and you pursue it, you can make money at it. Everything in the oil and gas industry starts with a piece of ground. And that is the case. Right now, our company, Leland, we have properties in Texas that are producing properties. We have a couple of funds that we've got where we just buy production. And we've just now completed a fund where our 4 wells are up in the state of Tennessee. What we do at Leland is we go out, we partner up with operators and drillers that are already out in the field. Our success rate is going to be extremely high, and we are going to have good prices, and we're going to have access and transportation for the product that we're going to develop. So you have to have different components for that piece of ground to have value. And by the way, that piece of ground has always got somebody attached to it. There's somebody that owns a farm, they own a little piece of it, and there's the oil and gas land guys that are out there, and they get a couple acres from this guy, and they get acres from that guy, and they get a little piece of it, and put all these acres together, and then they go to somebody like Young Oil and Gas and Leland, and they say, look, we can put down 4,000 or 5,000 acres together. You guys want to buy it? Without oil and gas, America shuts down. Consider transportation industry, airline, trucking, shipping, etc. Yet we continue to need more. And that statement's pretty much true for the entire world. Oil and gas is essentially the gold standard of the 21st century. It really is. If you can cripple the supply of oil and gas to any culture or any community or any country today, you own them. There was a time in this country where I think we were getting paid, the pay for a barrel of oil, 55 gallons of oil, was 8 cents a barrel. And people were becoming multimillionaires at 8 cents a barrel. We just talked about the price of $53 today. Domestic production and reserves become more and more important with each passing year. Well, not only does it become important for our economic growth, but it certainly becomes as important for our own security. Do you know that us, as United States citizens in this country, are the only people just about on the planet that have the opportunity to make profits out of the development of oil and gas? Think about it. Nobody in Saudi Arabia is standing up in front of a room saying, would you like to buy into a deal? It's not happening. They own it. The state owns it. The government owns it. A small group of powerful people own it in every country, other than here. Not only is there an opportunity here, but it is unique in the United States of America. That's pretty significant when you think about it. The oil and gas business has enjoyed a very strong lobby for a long, long time. And they do their job, they do it well. Other than home ownership, we know in home ownership, when you get you write your interests off, that's a heck of a deduction when it comes to anything that's got to do with your taxes. Oil and gas is probably one of the most significant vehicles with tax benefits in the investment marketplace. When you're drilling for oil and gas, you get intangible benefits, which range anywhere from 60 to 80% of whatever your entire investment is. That as an industry, it's one of the few things that offers the method to be directly involved in the profits. In the oil and gas business, there are a number of ways where you actually get to participate right there when it's coming out of the dirt. Not third party, not through a share participation, anything else. Whatever's coming out of the ground, you're a partner. It's like an apartment building, to use that as an analogy for you. If you put 10 people in a group and you buy an apartment building and you own it free and clear, the rents are $10,000 a month, and you're getting a piece of that. What we're in this business for is to make money. I select properties and I make my decisions about how we develop those properties based on a lot of information, but that information all really comes down to this. If I go out and I can stand on it, and I can see a well there, 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 and there, and I can drill this location, I feel pretty good about that lease. That's what I want to do. That's how much guesswork I want to have in the deal. And most people in this country don't get it because they don't know about it. When I looked at the oil and gas business, I said, you know what? Guy doesn't have to be real smart. He's just got to pay attention. You got to get out. You got to get out and look around and make some things happen. But you can make something happen here. So what I did is when I first started trading leases. I'd find leases, call guys, you want this lease? I'd carry an override. Then Leland started working a deal where we bring clients in and get them leases. And if they had the right lease, then they'd sell it off to an oil company and they'd get an override. This was in the late part of the 70s and early 80s. And I know that we have clients, I don't know where they are today. I have one client that got a lease, turned around and sold it for $1 million. Operators like Leland are in the business of helping develop pretty much known reserves. In other words, we're going into fields that, while somebody hasn't drilled them up yet, once you drill 3 or 4 wells in that field on that 4,000 acres, you know what you've got in the way of reserves. And that's what we're looking for. I know you're going to have more questions. We're going to be available for questions.